In the meantime, South African civil rights group AfriForum and its sister institutions say they will not leave South Africa. This comes after U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order against South Africa in relation to its Expropriation Act and South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. The group, however, has expressed its great appreciation for Trump and the U.S.'s recognition of what they say are injustice to which Afrikaners are subjected to in South Africa. Meanwhile, the civil rights organization and its sister institutions in the solidarity movement say they remain committed to Afrikaners' future at the southern tip of Africa and insist that urgent actions and solutions must therefore be found for the injustices committed by the South African government against Afrikaners and other cultural communities in the country.
We see our future in Africa. Our people in Afrikaans, the Afrikaner folk, became a people here on the southern tip of Africa. We did not develop elsewhere. We are not Europeans. We are indigenous to this people and to this country, and we are going nowhere. We want to also show appreciation to President Trump as well as of course the US government for recognizing and identifying the discrimination that Afrikaners are experiencing through racial legislation, through the BLA Act, through threats to property rights. Of course, hopefully that would help to also urge the various parties also in this country to go to the negotiation table to find amicable solutions that's in the interest of all in the country.
Well, to discuss this, we're joined by Vhahangwele Tsotetsi, an international political analyst. Thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, there seems to be no end to the escalating tensions between U.S. and South Africa. So I'd like to get your thoughts on this.
Okay, so I think what we need to understand first is that, firstly, South Africa recently, they passed a land expropriation bill. It's passed into law. And what that particular policy states, it states that the state can actually expropriate land for public purpose or for public interest. So that's what it states. So now I think the whole land policy is actually used as a scapegoat by the United States. And I've been seeing around that, a lot of people are saying that the United States are actually misinformed on the land issue in South Africa, and which is not the case. They're actually using the land policy as a scapegoat. And as you know that Israel and the United States are actually allies. So what is happening here is that the United States is actually punishing South Africa for taking their ally to the international court for committing atrocities against the people of Palestine. So that is actually what is happening here. So the land policy, the expropriation of land, it's actually used as a scapegoat. That is what is happening here. So there's no misinformation that is happening. The USA knows very well that African people in South Africa, they are not being there's no genocide happening, and also no one is actually taking land from them.
But some people feel that Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of South Africa, went overboard with his actions against Israel and these expropriation acts.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I said some people feel that the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, went overboard and was too vocal with his actions against Israel, and of course the allegations around genocide acts, and of course the expropriation acts, of course, in this country. So I'd like to take your, of course, submission on that too.
I think also what needs to happen, needs to be understood is that South Africa is a sovereign state, right? And what Americans needs to understand is that, South Africa, it's not an American colony. It's a sovereign state. And if you look at what Israel's been doing, to the people of Palestine, it didn't start on October 7th. This conflict actually goes way back, in 1948, even, before that. So South Africa has always been, running behind the people of Palestine. So now South Africa cannot be dictated, by the Americans and Israelis on what to do, in the international relations. And also, I mean, as I highlighted, the policy, of land. It's actually, if you look at what's happening in South Africa, I hear a lot of African people that saying that they're actually oppressed in South Africa. Actually, that's quite the contrary, because it's actually black people that actually, black South Africans that are actually oppressed in South Africa. We still see the scars of apartheid even today. White South Africans are actually less than 7% of the population, but they own more than 70% of the land in South Africa. Whereas if you look at black people, the population is actually over 80%. So it's actually quite the contrary to what's happening. It's actually black people in South Africa that are still oppressed. Black people in South Africa, they still live in the outskirts of the cities, in the peripheral areas. For black people to get opportunities, they have to move from the peripheral areas to go to the core to get those certain services and opportunities. So what's happening, it's actually black people that are actually oppressed. Okay. So, yes.
Okay, so to just wrap things up, it's quite interesting that the AfriForum, who have actually, according to reports, had a meeting with President Donald Trump to see some sort of sanctions being meted out to South Africa, are equally saying that they will not leave or be resettled. Where does that leave the Trump administration in this?
Like I said, the whole land policy thing is actually political rhetoric. That's what's happening. So it's used as a scapegoat, to actually punish South Africa because of, taking Israel to the international court. And also, I think what AfriForum was actually hoping is that they were hoping that, the Americans or Trump would actually, reverse, the fruits of democracy in South Africa. What AfriForum, what they're actually hoping for is that, they want to go back to the oppressive system of apartheid that actually, subject black people, to harsh treatment. So that is actually what they are hoping. So to AfriForum, justice is actually reverse racism. So that is what is happening right now. So it's just pure white arrogance.
So much, Vhahangwele Tsotetsi, for sharing your insights with us on the news.
Okay.
So